Hello and welcome back to another episode from Driving Britain. Today we're going to be looking at strange foods that should not exist.
Canned fish mouths, whole canned chicken. But if you like any of these crazy foods, you're probably in a different category altogether.
Now whether they mean strange as in ice cream on your steak or deep fried termite type strange, I'm really not sure. But what I do know is that food that might be strange in one country might be quite normal in another. So is that what we're going to be getting at? Are we going to be getting at things that are normal in some countries but seem bizarre to the rest of us? In which case, well, let's face it, half the things that Americans eat, most people in Britain think are quite strange, and most of the foods that people in Britain eat, Americans would think, what is that bland cardboard that you call food? But exactly what constitutes strange, I'm not really sure. And that's especially so when you start looking at the Pacific Rim type countries, China, Indonesia. You can get some pretty weird dishes over there compared to what we're going to eat as a staple sort of meal in the UK or Europe. Sometimes what constitutes a weird food is just food that you weren't brought up eating. It's just that mental barrier. Once you're across that, then things may not be quite so bizarre. But I've got a feeling that that's not what we're talking about in this video. Right, with any further delays, let's get straight into the video, which is by Be Amazed, and their link is in the description as always.
Let's take a look at some foods that probably shouldn't exist. Number 20. Whole canned chicken. Now, I don't know who this Sweet Sue is, but she's got a lot to answer for. Just the idea of shoving a perfectly...
Look at the state of that. That can't be a real thing, surely. That must be a gimmick. No one in their right mind's going to eat that chicken, are they? Or are they? Is that something that you regularly get in your country? Have you ever tried one of those? Was it a time of war?
Good chicken into a can is not only bird-brained, it's offensive to chickens everywhere. The compacted bird emerges from the can so coated in grease that it might as well be wearing a plastic poncho. And the only way you'd get me...
And how big is that tin? You could have fit a whole chicken in there. Is that like a paint tin or is it like a baked bean tin?
To eat this canned monstrosity was if it was the last thing left in the nuclear bunker post-apocalypse. Number 19. Black hot dog. Do you like eating stuff that looks burnt? Didn't think so. But clearly whoever came up with this charcoal-colored monstrosity thought otherwise. Unsurprisingly, this foot-long ninja...
So that's not just burnt then, that's actually made to look like that. Looks like you just dug it out of the bottom of the barbecue. And that's how it starts off. What's it going to look like when it's cooked, and how are you going to be able to tell when it's cooked? I'm not sure that that's a food that I would like to eat.
Came not just from Japan, but Japanese IKEA, which kind of explains everything. It's made with edible bamboo charcoal and was created to celebrate IKEA Japan.
So it's not even an actual hot dog, it's wood. Oh nice. Now it seems all the more appetizing.
And its 10-year anniversary. Apparently it's supposed to have detox properties. And fair enough, I'm about to detox everywhere just by looking at it.
Yeah, that's exactly what I thought.
18. Ranch dressing soda. Ranch is America's most popular dressing. It's a favorite prop of insane comedian Eric Andre, and is pretty well known to go with everything from buffalo wings to pepperoni pizza. But one wacky food scientist called Lester has found the one thing it shouldn't go with: soda. While I appreciate Lester's innovation, I can't help but dry heave when I think of a herby liquid.
Now I only vaguely know what ranch dressing tastes like, but I know what similar products in the UK taste like. And the idea of that being a carbonated drink, that sounds really, really disgusting on every single level possible. Whoever thought that was a good idea? You have your own special place in hell.
It's supposed to be both creamy and fizzy. Sour milk and chives, anyone? Like pumpkin pie, sweet corn, or baking soda. But carbonated ranch is where I draw the line. Number 17. Mountain Dew Fudge. As if the idea of green fudge wasn't enough, one kooky confectioner on Etsy has decided to take the chewy caramel goodness of fudge and make it radioactive. Dentists all over the world will be rejoicing at this combination of the two most cavity-producing substances known to man. But I
don't know quite how good or bad that would be, because Mountain Dew in the UK is pretty nasty tasting anyway because of all the saccharin that they put in there in the place of the proper sugars that should be there in the American version. But fudge is quite sweet, so if they used the proper American version with all of that sugar and then they added more sugar to make it into fudge, then for somebody from the UK that would probably be pretty close to inedible. If you're in the US, I don't know, maybe you'd like it, but I think even you'd probably struggle with that one.
One will be steering well clear of these $12 sweet and sour Hulk chunks. Number 16. Lobster flavored ice cream. Don't get...
Why would you do that? You have a perfectly nice vanilla or plain tasting ice cream and then you make it taste of fish. Well, lobster.
me wrong. I'm a huge fan of experimentation with ice cream flavors. Where would we be without Ben
Yes, in hazelnut or mint or strawberry, not fish.
and Jerry's classic fish food? What nobody asked for, however,
Has anybody ever had frozen fish? A fish that you've had in the freezer ready for making into a meal. Have you ever then taken it out of the freezer ready to cook and thought, I think I'd quite like to start gnawing on the corner of that way it's all icy. That looks really nice. That's just like an ice cream. I think I'm going to eat that.
is chunks of crustacean in their ice cream. Yet Ben and Bill's Chocolate Emporium of Maine decided to do it anyway. Just thinking about this lobster ice cream makes me want to take a long walk off a short pier. But what else did we really expect from Maine? Maybe just stick to the lobster rolls, fellas. Number 15. The Fluff Screamer. Deep in the heart of Schuylkill County, Pennsylvania, there lurks a monster. It's gooey, meaty, spicy and chewy, and it's coming for your arteries. Behold the Fluff Screamer, a griddled hamburger topped with onions, butter, chili paste, and marshmallow fluff. This hyper-regional...
What is it with you Americans and this marshmallow on your main meals? A burger? Sure. Chili on it? Sure. Cheese? Yeah, that sounds quite nice. Maybe even some onion. Marshmallow? Why do you feel the need to put marshmallow on all of your meals? Where did that even come from? Is there a marshmallow seller out there that's laughing all the way to the bank because he's managed to con you into or buying marshmallow to put on your main food? So much sugar in most of your food products as they stand straight off the shelf that they're banned from most of the countries around the earth. And you want to go one step further by adding a big blob of marshmallow to it. This is probably something that most people will struggle with the idea of eating. Worse than a chicken in a can? No way. I'd rather take the marshmallow burger than the chicken out of a can any day.
burger has been around since the 70s, and the record for number of screamers eaten in one sitting is 14 and a half. Did that person survive? Who knows? But one thing I do know is that while this burger probably shouldn't exist, I'm kind of glad it does.
The burger itself looks nice right up until you get to the marshmallow, and then that just spoils it.
Number 14. Seaweed Pie. Canada's Prince Edward Island was once the Irish moss capital of the world. And what in the bejesus is that, I hear you ask? Well, it's actually a type of seaweed that contains carrageenan, a thickening agent used in ice cream and toothpaste. Locals thought it would be a good idea to put this seaweed into a dessert, and just like that, seaweed pie was born.
Deep fried seaweed that you had from the Chinese, quite nice. Maybe even some other type of herbal seaweed concoction, maybe. Seaweed in your pudding? Not a chance. Why would you take that very nice looking cake and spoil it with the taste of seaweed? Next you'll be adding lobster to the top of it.
I guess its existence makes sense if you're stuck on an island surrounded by the stuff. But seaweed is seaweed, folks, and I'll be damned if it's going anywhere near my precious pies. Number 13. Fruit Pizza. The placement of fruit on pizza is perhaps one of the world's most controversial topics. The jury's still out on pineapple, but I think we can all agree that this kind of thing is a criminal.
I don't know, would that be more like kind of like close towards a pie? A fruit pie of some sort, but with bread rather than pastry? I don't think it makes up a pizza, and I don't think you'd want the cheese on it, but all of the fruit rolled up in some type of flatbread. That might be quite nice, and that's essentially what that would be. I'm not sure about that one. I think that one might be alright to eat, but I wouldn't class it as a pizza. And if I ordered pizza and that turned up, I wouldn't be too pleased. What about you?
While in certain arrangements it can look sort of beautiful, there are plenty of examples that are just plain wrong. At a certain point you have to ask yourself, is this really...
Well, that looks really, really gross, but if you mash banana and put it on toast and grill it, that's really, really nice. Hot mashed banana on toast is one of those things where you expect it to be really disgusting, but it's actually really, really nice. So that pizza probably tastes a lot better than it looks, because it looks like somebody's already eaten it.
Even pizza anymore? I think we all know the answer to that question. But then again, tomatoes are a fruit, so I'm not sure this issue
not
will
that
ever
kind
be
of fruit,
resolved. Number 12. Fermented shark. Okay, I'll admit it. Claiming that certain foods shouldn't exist is a minefield of cultural sensitivity. Not everyone in France likes frog's legs, and nobody outside the UK likes jellied eels. But about
Very few people inside the UK like jellied eels.
Iceland's fermented shark, we have to ask, what were they thinking? Greenland shark is poisonous when fresh, and even the fermented meat contains large amounts of ammonia, which gives it a strong smell of urine and cleaning products.
Which is sounding more and more appetizing by the moment.
Renowned food writer Anthony Bourdain described Harkarl as the single worst, most disgusting, and terrible tasting thing he has ever eaten. While UK
If you had no other food and you was in a very cold, inhospitable place where there was no chance of getting food other than the fetid shark meat, then you're going to eat it. But would you choose to eat it above other actual real food?
UK-based chef Ainsley Harriott described it as like chewing a urine-infested mattress. So if anyone even thinks about coming...
I don't know, now he said that, it sounds all the more appetizing again, doesn't it? Why did somebody even try that in the first place? Was they really that hungry, there was no other options and that's what they had to eat? Well, that makes sense. But then why did they bring it back and, oh, I've got this great recipe for you. You really should try it.
Coming near me with one of these stench cubes, they'll end up like this guy. Number 11. Kasumarzu. A world without cheese
more filth.
would be a pretty sad place. But it might be a safer place if this particular cheese didn't exist.
Yeah, that's the cheese that has to have maggots crawling around in it so that you know that it's still alright to eat. And something that already has maggots in it, in my book, isn't alright to eat.
This is Kasumarzu, a Sardinian cheese that's basically pecorino, except that it's riddled with maggots. The cheese is illegal in the EU, but can still be found on the black market. It's made by allowing a cheese fly to lay its eggs on a wheel of pecorino, after which maggots start to eat their way inside. Sardinians claim that the maggots must be alive when the cheese is consumed, otherwise it's become toxic. Eating
If something's mouldy enough to have maggots on it, then it's not something that I'm going to go to the shop and intentionally buy. There are quite a lot of different cheeses out there. Now, I know in the UK we have a bigger cheese variety than a lot of other countries. And I know that in the US you get spray cheese, so I know that you're probably looking for a better variety of cheese than what you've probably got on a general basis. But even there, you have a lot of different cheeses to choose from. So why would anybody in any of our countries buy that filthy stuff? Never mind whether it's on the black market or not, why would somebody just be actively choosing to buy and eat that stuff? Humans really are a weird bunch of creatures, aren't we?
Kasumarzu can cause burning, skin-crawling sensations that last for days, and there's also a chance you'll get an intestinal larval infection. Need I say more? Number 10. Peanut butter and mayonnaise sandwich. In comparison to maggot cheese, this combination is pretty tame, but it's still sickly nonetheless. During the Great Depression, the combination of PB&M became a staple in Southern households because of its high-calorie combination of protein and fat.
Yeah, look, why not just have a peanut butter sandwich and a mayonnaise sandwich? Why have you got to stick the two together? Because that's just being gross. Was it that you were just short on time and you thought, I know what I'm going to do, I'm going to stick both of those together, and then decided that it didn't taste as revolting as it sounds? Yeah, I'm not convinced. I reckon that it's just as disgusting as it sounds. Those two things don't go together.
Mayonnaise was also supposed to reduce the coarseness of the era's rustic peanut butter, making it more spreadable and palatable. In the modern day, however, there's ultra-spreadable Skippy, and a variety of oilier alternative nut butters to use that don't require thinning. But seriously...
Yeah, but American nut butter is so sickly sweet that it's almost inedible. For people in the UK, if you added a tin of condensed milk to a jar of peanut butter and mixed it all together, that's what the oily butter mix type stuff that he's just talking about actually tastes like. It is unbelievably sweet. If you just added a bag of sugar to a jar of peanut butter, it still wouldn't be anywhere near as sweet as what that stuff tastes.
Peanut butter and mayonnaise. Could you really trust someone who enjoyed this combo? Other than your toothless grandma? Number 9. True Moo Mint Vanilla Milk. Move over mint ice cream and say hello to minty milk. If you were ever desperate to replicate the gag-inducing sensation of drinking milk after brushing your teeth, this is the drink for you. True Moo released...
I don't think that they go together either, do they? Mint flavoured ice cream, yeah, that sounds alright, and that is quite nice. But mint flavoured milk, you wouldn't get any of the taste of the milk, you'd just get the mint flavour.
This terrifyingly green milk for St. Patrick's Day, a holiday that gives permission for anyone to turn whatever...
I Something that you're going to buy as a one-off? Maybe. Something you're going to buy more than once every 10 years? Not a chance.
Ever they want green, and it was soon discontinued. Whether it was the greenness of the milk or the strangeness of the flavor, I'll never know. But what's clear is that this product was subject to the natural selection process that is capitalism and ceased to exist as a result. Number 8. Sushi pizza. Just when you thought you'd seen enough of other foods masquerading as pizza, in steps sushi. The so-called sushi pizza was invented in Toronto in 1993 by a man called...
I have noticed that a lot of these very disgusting food combinations seem to be coming out of America. There's a bit of a pattern going on here, isn't there? Americans, you've got such big food selections, how come you keep on sticking the worst things possible together? And what is it with you with fish, marshmallows and mayonnaise?
Kaoru Oshada. He would freeze leftover sushi rice into patties, which could then be fried the next day and topped with fish. And just like that, sushi pizza was born. Oshada's background is in French cooking, and he's not a trained sushi chef, which explains why he was able to commit this artistic crime against both sushi and pizza. While I respect the invention Oshada showed.
Yeah, it's not really pizza, is it? It's basically got rice patties that is deep fried. So I guess, as it is then, maybe. I'm not sure I'd do more than ever just try it once, but it's not quite as bad as some of the things that we've seen, is it? Or is it? Would you try that?
Let's be honest with ourselves. This is not pizza, and nor is this monstrosity, which makes me want to rinse out my eyes with soy sauce and snort wasabi. Number 7.
That looks like a celiac version of it. Somebody that can't eat wheat that wants pizza. You know that you can get rice flour, don't you? You don't need to eat the actual rice. You can just get the flour from the rice and have something that's almost like an actual pizza. Whereas that monstrosity, that's not anything like pizza. It's just in a triangular shape, like how you might cut a piece of pizza. But cutting it in the same shape as a pizza does not make it pizza. Maybe you should have cut it in the same shape as a bin.
Which makes me want to rinse out my eyes with soy sauce and snort wasabi. Number 7.
What on earth is that?
Doesn't need a bad name. Pickled herring, borscht, and vodka are what spring to mind when you think of their cuisine. But if there's one thing that could make that reputation worse, it's canned fish mouths.
Look at that. Okay, you've had a hard day at work, you get home, you think, oh, I'm really hungry. What shall I eat? And then you open up a tin and that's what you're faced with. Yummy.
One of which seems to have maintained a healthy set of vicious teeth. I'm not sure who's eating these, or what sort of dish they're used in, but that looks more like something I'd flush down the toilet before it got too...
That looks like something from a horror movie, let alone what you flush down the toilet.
...big than anything I'd consider eating. Number 6. Canned pig brains and milk gravy. In this next...
It gets worse, pig brains in a can. In the UK there used to be, I think there still is, brawn, which is basically pig's brain, mushed pig's brain. Just the same as you get corned beef, which is kind of like a mixed ground beef that's then cooked and made into ready-to-eat slices, you know, like a cooked meat, like salami or pepperami or something like that. Well, they do a brawn, or they used to. I don't know if they still sell it. I think they do. Anybody from the UK, if you ever seen brawn still sold, then put it into the comment section. Brawn used to be quite a big seller in the UK. I think that the last generation were probably people born in the 60s that would be buying things like brawn. But it's like pig's feet, you can, or you used to be able to buy those as well. I'm not sure if anybody ever ate them, but I know they used to sell them. So brawn in a tin, pig's brain in a tin. I guess it's basically the pre-cut version, isn't it? And it sounds absolutely horrible.
Installment of post-apocalyptic canned foods you wouldn't eat if you were starving. I bring you pork brains and milk gravy. I'm not sure there needs to be more of an explanation as to why it shouldn't exist, because I'm not sure you could...
I'm not sure which part of that sounds worse, the milk gravy or the pig's brain. Well, actually, no, I do. The pig's brain definitely sounds worse, but milk gravy, what's that all about?
Come up with a more unappetizing combination of words if you tried. For some reason, these chunks of cerebro are a southern delicacy and can either be deep fried or enjoyed with scrambled eggs to satisfy the morning zombie in all of us. To nobody's surprise, they're the only pork brains left on the market, so get them while they're still conscious. Number 5.
Now, like I say, I'm pretty sure that you can still buy brawn, which is pig's brain, a processed version. So basically, just mince it all up and then squash it all back together and then cut it into thin slices like ham. And then it's sold I think it's just probably sold loose. I don't suppose you can get it in the pre-packed packets like how you buy corned beef or ham or anything like that, or luncheon meat. Luncheon meat, I think that's probably somewhere in the middle.
Cherry blossom flavored Lay's. Do you get that unmistakable feeling in the fall where you just want to take a big bite out of a cherry blossom tree? Well, thanks to the Japanese division of Lay's, now you can. Or at least you could when these chips were available, offering a flavor more suitable to a bar of soap than a bag of chips. I'm not sure what Lay's were thinking with this one.
I know that they're quite big with the cherry blossom and it's quite a big thing there, but crisps, I think that's a step too far, even for them.
But hey, at least the bag looks cute. Number 4. Gummy Bear Bratwurst. In the small town of Hugo, Minnesota, a butcher called Spencer Grundhofer has figured out the secret to the perfect bratwurst. Gummy bears. What started as a joke quickly developed into seriously popular sausage, and he's also experimenting with substances such as grape Kool-Aid. This is what happens when you experiment with substances, kids. While this insane sausage probably shouldn't exist, at least someone's come up with a way to irritate every single German at the same time.
Yeah, I think that if the sausages are anything as disgusting as what it looked on that first image, then the taste of the gummy bears isn't going to help get rid of the image that you're going to get when you cut into it and that red kind of weird stuff comes out. It might be melted gummy bear, but still. And of course we're also back to the Americans putting sweets on normal foods. There's not enough sugar in this food, we need to add a bit more.
Number 3. Rainbow grilled cheese. Are you a rainbow spewing unicorn kind of person? Well, do I have the grilled cheese sandwich for you. 2016 saw the beginning of a trend where people would add various food dyes to individual bowls of cheese, which could then be lined up between slices of bread to create a Willy Wonka-esque cheese hammock. This neat DIY trick is a surefire way to impress your rainbow-loving peers, and while this kind of thing probably shouldn't exist,
the thing is, food tastes like what it looks. That doesn't look anywhere near as nice as a normal toasted cheese sandwich, so it's just not going to taste as nice. And I think that in the US especially, I'd be more concerned about what's being used in the colouring dyes and all that sort of stuff than what I would be about the actual colour of the cheese. Eating cheese that's dyed green and blue and red and all that sort of stuff, I wouldn't have a problem with that.
I'm pretty happy that it does. Number 2. Fried chicken ice cream. Of all the delicious foods, we have to thank Japan.
Okay, this looks like an American thing, but he's already said Japan. And when you know that you can't distinguish because a dish is so bizarre, whether it's come from Japan or from America, you know that two countries are primarily responsible for many of these really bad ideas.
And for this might be the best. It combines two of the most indulgent foodstuffs in the world into one handy mouthful. I am, of course, talking about fried chicken ice cream. In 2016, a great year for food, a fried chicken festival in Fukuoka offered soft-serve ice cream flavored with courage, the Japanese word for...
I don't think that would be very nice. I do like the coating you get on, southern fried chicken and stuff like that, KFC and that type of taste. I really like that. And I really like most ice creams. But ice cream flavoured chicken? I don't think so. What about you? Would you eat that? Would you purposely choose that if you saw it on a shelf?
Fried chicken. Sources claim that the poultry-based ice cream was both sweet and salty, as well as refreshing. This comes as welcome news after the cruel April Fools played by Perry's Ice Cream when they claimed to have released a chicken wing flavor ice cream. Once again, the Japanese have brought something that shouldn't exist into existence, and the world is a better place for it. Number 1.
No, it's not.
Spaghetti and meatball cone. Is this what happens when an Italian hand gets perfectly mummified? Whatever the case, it'd make them cry. The spaghetti and meatball cone was created by Kyle Marco, also known as the Vulgar Chef. For lovers of pasta, this is either a blessing or a monstrosity. But one thing is for certain, it's totally unnecessary, but in kind of a brilliant way.
I don't know what you'd even do with it. Would you just eat it from the top? Would the pasta taste nice because it was cold and, well, rock hard? I'm not sure I even like the idea of this one. Let alone the taste.
About the gelato-shaped meatball or the crunchy deep-fried spaghetti cone, you have to applaud the
deep-fried spaghetti. That's probably quite nice.
That would infuriate the entire Italian nation. Its creator even created a video of how to make it. Sorry, Giuseppe. So which one of these inventive...
I think that the deep-fried pasta cone and then packed with mincemeat, that's probably quite nice. We're certainly going to be nicer than that. I think that that's definitely amongst the worst. That, and also pig's brains. Brains in a tin. That's not something you expect to come across on a supermarket shelf, and for good reason. Not that I'd class maggot-filled cheese as a very nice appetising meal either, for that matter. You see, you're not so disgusted by the pizza anymore, are you? It wasn't such a bad idea after all, was it? As for you Americans and your marshmallow, what's that all about? How come there's marshmallow on so many of your main meal type foods? Foods that should never be involved with marshmallow. You should be putting a condiment with that. A blob of tomato ketchup maybe, some ranch dressing, some mustard even. Or even, and I know that this is going to be a way out sort of idea, but how about some salad and tomato, or, you know, traditional sort of things. Now I know that they're traditional and boring, but marshmallow, really? Oh, come on. Speaking of ranch dressing, Americans, we still haven't forgiven you for exposing us to the very thought of ranch dressing in a glass. I don't mean the bottle. Well, we know it's been a pretty bad list by the way that the charcoal wood-filled black hot dogs are probably about the nicest thing that we've seen on the list so far. It's not been a very appetising sort of menu, has it? Okay, they're obviously at the end of their video. Which of these very, very disgusting meals, food ideas, do you think is the worst? Which one of these would you try? If you had to eat one of them, which one would you pick? And if there was one that you really didn't want to eat, which is the one that you would put to the very end of the list? If you was going to have to eat all of them, what order would you put them in? Which would you put as kind of the least gross to the absolute worst? I think that them shark's teeth, they're going to be somewhere, the shark heads, they're going to be on the very end of the list for me. The pork brains, that's probably going to be pretty close to it. At the top of the list, I think that sausages with gummy bears, that seems the least kind of nasty. That salmon cake type stuff, that doesn't seem too bad either. I know that it's supposed to be called pizza, but it was basically just fried rice, wasn't it? It was just pieces of deep fried rice with bits of, well, salmon on it. That doesn't sound too bad, I could eat that. In fact, I'd probably try that anyway. That meatball thing, I reckon that's probably going to be quite nice. Deep fried pasta sounds like it probably would be a lot nicer than you would expect. And if it was packed with mince, maybe if it was packed with chili mince, like what you get at a Taco Bell or something, then that'd probably be quite nice. It would be almost like a Taco Bell, wouldn't it? That deep fried pasta bundle in a cone, packed with some sort of mincemeat. But the fact he's made it look like an ice cream, I think that just makes it seem a bit more disgusting. What about the other things on the list? Where would you put them in the order? If you had to list them for the nicest to the worst, what's your list going to look like? Which one would you put at the very end because you really wouldn't want to eat it until you absolutely had to? Imagine you're in a nuclear bunker, these are the only foods you've got. You want to put them in the nicest to the worst. What's your menu going to look like? It's going to look pretty bad, that's what it's going to look like. Okay, let us know in the comments what you think. If you've enjoyed the video, don't forget to click thumbs up, and for more like this, then don't forget to subscribe. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.